Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is facing the sack at Manchester United. He has been presented with an ultimatum, 5 games to save your job. And they are 5 big games: Newcastle, PSG, Chelsea, RB Leipzig, and followed by Arsenal. These 5 games, there's 2 more after that period and then an international break. And it is written in the stars, if Ole fails in this time period, it is very likely that regardless of what happens in the final 2 games before the international break, which are against Istanbul and Everton respectively, that Ole will find himself staring down the barrel upon his imminent sacking from the Manchester United post. We have also seen quotes today from The Athletic, and it is as bait can be. From Ed Woodward is the source here, claiming that I must be clear, the players I speak to are never saying he's a disaster as a manager, but they question whether he's a top coach. He says the Man United players, are worried about how much things will spiral out of control after a bad result. The momentum swing has been too dramatic. They are feeling the team is too dependent on players in attack doing wonderful individual things. This is what the media is quoting us today. This is what the media is telling us. We know that Man United have already held initial conversations and had initial talks with Maurizio Pochettino. The international break is on the way, and it's typical Glazer Woodward tactics, this from front to back. Now, let's ignore the fact at the moment, we'll come to it later, whether or not you think Ole should lose his job or not. Let's put that aside for a moment and let's look at the facts. One of the worst starts to the Premier League that we have ever had as a Manchester United fan base. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. It has been poor. You dropped 6 goals in a game. You dropped that L. Most would say that there's a strong, genuine opportunity and chance of you losing your job, and many would agree with it. So we take that on board. But you take a few other factors. When is the right time to appoint a new manager? Well, you want a fairly clean run of games, and that's difficult in a very competitive league like Man United are in. But would it be sensible to employ Maurizio now ahead of Newcastle away, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Leipzig, and then Arsenal? Or would it be more beneficial to install Maurizio Pochettino at the beginning of another international break, which begins on the 11th of November? And then, when he comes back, he plays West Brom, Istanbul at home, Southampton. Yes, a big game against Paris Saint-Germain, but then plays West Ham and Leipzig, all the way until the 12th of December before a big game in the Premier League, giving him a month or so to get his feet under the table when Manchester United play Man City. For me, it is absolutely written in the stars for Ole to lose his job. You then look at what's being quoted in the media today. And for me, listen, the guy, Woodward is a very clever man. He's the Pied Piper. He does this every single time a manager is facing the sack. He starts to feed information into the media, which makes everybody turn on the coach and stop focusing on the incompetent nature of the board. And just think about one thing here in what he said. Remember what he did we know what he did to Jose. We know what he did to LVG. But you look at what he's saying here. The players are questioning whether he's a top coach. They know he's a good coach, but whether he's a top coach. That's pretty much what the Ole In Brigade say. So the Ole In Brigade read that and go, yeah, that is what I think as well, I want Ole to stay because I want us to build something and cultural reboot, stick to a plan. But we have all questioned whether he's good enough to make us Premier League champions. So the Ole In Brigade will agree with that first bit. The second element is there for the Ole Out Brigade, where they say there is a feeling that the team is too dependent on players for attackers to do wonderful things individually. That is Vibes FC freestyle football. This comment that's come from an inside source, right? It's literally speaking to both the Ole In and the Ole Out Brigade at the same time. It's so bait. It is so obvious. Anybody can see this. It's like, okay, cool. Nice try. But this is what Woodward does. He gets you thinking, the players are unhappy. Players agree with me. He's not a top coach and they want better. So maybe we're ready for better. You get the Ole Out Brigade that are more aggressive with it, and they'll be like, see, told you he's a freestyle manager, has to go. what this now does, every single result now, people are going to be looking at the tactics, the style of play, and players' dedication. And any of that goes wrong, it's going to be back to this article. The players are right. I was right. He isn't a top coach. Or the players are right. I was right. He's a freestyle manager. Get him out, get him out, get him out, get him out. If we go for a bad run in those 5 games, which I truly hope doesn't happen, but conceivably could, the players might themselves, when reading this, give 10% less, thinking, oh, maybe we can get a better manager. Maybe I can stop any criticism of me by throwing Ollie under the bus like we did to previous managers. And then Woodward is sitting there, the Pied Piper, going, oh, we're getting away with this. Look at our disastrous summer. Look at our 7-8 years of incompetence. They're blaming another manager. It's so obvious. Honest to God, it's so obvious what is going to happen here. It is unbelievable. It's everything's there. It's out in front of you. 5 games to save his job. The international break is going to be upon us. After the international break, there's an easier run of games. The perfect time to introduce a new manager. They did the same thing to Jose. They did the similar types of things in terms of media leaks to LVG. It's written in the stars. For me, this personally, to me as an opinion, confirms Ollie is a dead man walking at Manchester United Football Club. I cannot see him surviving this for love nor money. And you know, the one good thing maybe it does, it might unify the Ollie in and the Ollie out brigade, but it's unifying them against the wrong target. Because you're telling me now, before we jump into your calls, remember Skype lines are open, search Football Terrace FC on Skype and get yourself involved. Do you seriously trust this board to appoint their 5th manager in 7 years? Come on! Come on! Hit that like button now, ladies and gentlemen. Ollie facing the sack. We've got Ches on the line. Ches, what you saying, bro?
I don't know, Terry, man. You're right. It's like a cyclical narrative with Woodward. And it's literally the head. Like, you can't, unless you remove the head of the snake, you can't decapitate like the whole system. So all of this change of manager thing, like you just said, like you were saying many times, it's not going to change anything. Like, you just need to get rid of the board. That's the problem. And how is that going to happen? I don't know,
bro. But it's mad. When see, this is the myopic view of Man United fans. What I'm now seeing on social media is a fight between fans around the Ollie out brigade were right. We said that he was a freestyle manager. The Ollie in brigade are like, no. The players are not saying that. They're just saying they don't know if he's a good coach, but he's not a top coach. And that's what we've all said. They're fighting over Ollie here without focusing. Put this into context. The Ollie out brigade, you're siding with the board that employed Ollie. Now, this is my whole problem. Go back to what I was talking about a year ago. Even when I was calling for him to go, when I was talking about transfers, due diligence. How is it plausible that we didn't know the level of Ollie's coaching capabilities when we employed him, when we basically had a 3-month trial period for him? Like, the same people you're now trusting are the same people that gave this supposed incompetent manager the job. And you're now going to trust them to employ somebody else? It's mad. That's why I do care about Ollie. And I said all along, I don't know if he can win us a Premier League or an FA Cup, but I truly believe that we were doing a cultural reboot, fixing things from the ground up. You can already see that the board are getting too much pressure. And this is what the pressure always do, that the board always do. Let's throw the manager under the bus. They did it to LVG. They spread all these lies about how he segregated the playing staff. So academy players here, coaching staff here, first team players there, and didn't let them all into all these weird stories coming out, which turn out not to be true. It was just their way of turning fans against the manager, so nobody's overly focusing on them. It's just done every single time, and I'm not falling for it.
Yeah,
I will support the decision to remove Ollie, because there's no point of having Ollie here if we're not doing a cultural reboot, because he isn't a good enough coach at the highest level. He's probably never going to be good enough to make us Premier League champions. I'll support Poch if he comes in because I want Man United to win, but I am not deluded enough to think that we're not going to be here again in 18 months' time saying the same stuff.
And so I was just about to say, I was thinking, but I was just about to caveat that and say, but the manager, Alex Ferguson, done a good job with the same board. And I was just about to think that, but then I thought, not really, that's not going to be the case because he's not going to get backed. So then it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
There's two things in that, bro. One, if you look at the squad that Fergie had up until he retired, a big percentage of that came in before or in the early stages of the Glazer ownership. So if you think like the Rios were here already, I think Van der Sar may have been, I'm not too sure, maybe he came a year later, but Rio was here as an example, Scholes and Giggs and Rooney, Ronaldo, like quite a bit. And they did spend money in the early days, and we still were able to sign players as an example. But we had a core group already that Fergie built up over sort of 05, 06, 07, 08. And then we had a couple of good signings between sort of 08, 09 and when Fergie retired in 2013, but only a handful of really good signings. It was already starting to dwindle from that point, and we didn't rebuild again. The one difference is Fergie is the greatest manager in the history of English football, in my opinion, definitely in the Premier League era. You can't compare him to Ollie in terms of getting a tune out of this team. You know, could Klopp or Pep make this Man United team play better football? Absolutely, absolutely. But in terms of taking us to the pinnacle with this board, with this ownership, I can't see it in a month of Sundays. Cheers. Thank you very much for coming on. Next up, we have Hassan on the line. Hassan, welcome to the Football Terrace. Ollie facing the sack. Supposedly the players not being happy with his coaching. 5 games to save his job. Give me your opinions, mate.
I think in this window, Ollie has not been like fully backed. He didn't get the players he needed, like with the Upperman Carno and all that. And he's just been having a lot of, and in my opinion, he's following the same path as Mourinho. Whereas if another manager comes in, he's going to see half of Ollie players as dead wood, and the cycle is going to repeat again. They're going to keep pumping in money after money. So what they're going to have to do is, in my opinion, they're going to have to back him the way they backed Fergie. And they're just going to have to keep backing him until the end and see if results come out. Maybe put in Poch at the start of the next, after the international breaks, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I get where you're coming from your first point. They're saying thank you very much for calling the show, mate, and having your say. Listen, I've said before with Ollie, I felt they were trying to build something for the future. And I think I've always felt we needed somebody with red in their blood to get that done. I've always questioned his ability to make us Premier League and Champions League champions. I don't think we're ready for a new manager as a football club. I stand by that fervent belief. But I equally and more potently do not believe that we are ever going to be back to the pinnacle with this ownership and this board. So it doesn't matter who comes in. I'm not about Ollie in, Ollie out, Poch in, Poch out. I'm not going down that road again. Just think about this again. I'll reiterate before we go to Mr. Reddy that's on the line. This Man United board have picked a manager who they're now saying the players don't think is a good enough coach. What level of football intelligence do they have to employ an incompetent coach? They must have known after 3 months what his coaching capabilities were. But yet they still gave him a job and have theoretically wasted 18 months of Man United's life cycle by having a manager in that was never going to be good enough. What was the point? Oh, let's give him a chance. He might turn out to be good enough. No, you have to be sure. It doesn't matter to me whether Ollie is or isn't good enough. My focus is on the board who employed him, that thought he was going to be good enough. Mr. Reddy is on the line. What are you saying, bro?
First, Terry, I just want to say that I'm not Ole out, but the points I'm about to make is going to seem like I'm Ole out. I have a similar opinion to you, because Ole is my manager. I will back him no matter what. It's my club. I will back them no matter what. So I just feel that no matter how much we protest, we can protest against the Glazers, against Ed Woodward, Matt Judge. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. The only thing that they're going to do is sack Ole. When Poch comes, whichever manager comes in, I'm obviously going to back that manager. But we need somebody that can get the best out of the current players we have now. Because no matter what manager comes in, they're not going to get the full backing of the board. So it does not make sense. They say 5 games to save his job. I also saw something with Ryan Giggs is more likely to come in than Poch. So you want Ryan Giggs to come in when he's never managed a club before, only 4 games for United, and he's managing Wales. I mean, I just don't understand that mentality.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you on a lot of what you've said there. If we're not doing a cultural reboot, I do not see the point of Ollie. It makes zero sense. If we were trying to get behind the scenes, our ducks in a row, certain behaviors in place, fixing wage structures, certain types of players on board, create something, and then be like, right, it's built now. Ollie, thank you. We want to move you upstairs. We want to put you into a different capacity, and we're going to bring in a better manager with better coaches around him. I would have been happy with that. This summer says to me, we're not looking to do that. The way the media are briefing the press, we're not looking to do that. We just want someone, like you said, who wants to come. We want someone who's going to come in and get the best out of this group and do the best possible. Poch will get better out of these players, in my view, than Ollie will. However, I'm reserving my thoughts around, can we ever get back to the top of the league? Can we ever get back again to being Premier League champions? The answer for me is no, because this board is never going to allow it. Mr. Reddy, thank you very much for calling the show. Really appreciate it. Next up, we have man like KJ back with us. Before we do that, though, smash the like button now, please, ladies and gentlemen. Nearly 2,000 people watching. Ollie facing the sack, in my opinion, based on these comments that have been leaked today. These next 5 games that are coming up. We've had initial conversations with Mauricio Pochettino. KJ, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, I'm all right, like enjoying life where I can, not looking at United news, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you, bro.
FIFA 21's out, you know what I'm saying? Get on that. But yeah, on this topic, I'm just like this now. Like you said, if we're not doing a cultural rebuild behind the scenes, Ollie's really not needed. And if that is the case, stop hanging on to him. Just let him go now. Like, just put him out of his misery. Yeah. You already killed him by not backing him in the window. There's no point of displaying his corpse all over the place just for you to dump it in the river. Like, don't do that. just let him go.
They're gonna Guy Fawkes him. It's gonna be hung, drawn, and quarn in public and public display, because what that does, and I've seen it already on socials. We were talking just before I went on the air. You're already seeing the Ollie Out Brigade celebrating. We're right. See, he's a freestyle manager. It's like you really are. You are rats, because you're allowing the Pied Piper to play his merry tune and drag you away from where you really want to be. And the real focus is them. The real focus is, imagine this. Imagine a board who have already employed Moyes, already employed LVG, already employed Jose, a board who have hemorrhaged more than £1 billion on players that haven't suited the system, that don't want to be here, a board that paid out exorbitant amounts of salary to Deadwood players for many, many years, a board who have completely obliterated what Sir Alex Ferguson built over a 25-plus year period. You are now backing them in their decision to get Ollie out, thinking that at the end of it, then now this time round, they're going to make the right decision. It makes zero sense. It's crazy. It's crazy.
In terms of like people being Ollie out, okay, you've said he's not good enough. You don't believe he's good enough. Cool. Why are you not mad at the people who hired him in? Like, if you know he's not good enough for the job, and you're never going to believe in him. Why keep going at him, fam? Relax. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not good enough, it's not good enough. Why are you not vexed at the people who thought it was a good idea to bring him in? Like, here's the thing: Ed Woodward loves Mitch. He loves Poch. He's always wanted Poch. You already know that he has always wanted Poch. He had the opportunity to not hire Ollie after his good run, to let him go for that season, just let him manage, not hire him, say thank you for steadying the ship, and then get Poch after that. He could have done that. But you know my issue with Ed Woodward? He's more concerned about PR and how he looks in the media than he does actually making football decisions. Like, for someone who loves Poch, he had a perfect opportunity to go get him. But man was like, if I don't hire Ollie now, people are going to say bad things about me, saying, how do you not let him have an opportunity after him doing so well, blah, 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 blah. This is the issue with this man.
Yes.
This man.
Mate,
he's more concerned about how his image is in the media than actually making football decisions. Imagine picking PR over Poch, fam.
And that's it, bro. And that's it. We all wanted Ollie. We all wanted Ollie after that opening run. And we're allowed to want Ollie. Like I've said, there are Ollie out brigades. They're allowed to think that because they're fans. People want Ollie in. They're allowed to think that because they're fans. When you're the vice chairman, whatever your role is at Man United, and you're basically the decision maker around who stays and who goes out, right? Your decision has got to be based on football knowledge, football insight, facts, and due diligence. It cannot be based on vibes. It cannot be based on, what are the press going to say? It's about getting it right in the medium to long term than it is in the short term. And everything about Woodward is short term, short term, short term. How do I look good now? I'll do X, Y, and Z. Right, now I've done that. Oh, it's getting a bit sticky. Why is it getting sticky? Because I've gone for the wrong option. Cheap is expensive. We always do the cheap, easy thing. And in the long term, that lets us down every single time. And I don't care for the Ollie out or Ollie in brigade. I'm past caring whether Ollie's good enough.
I don't care
as the main subject. The main subject here is this board are going to be picking the replacement, and they're going to pick Poch. Now, I like Poch, but I'm questioning whether he's the right guy. Do you know why? Because this board have never picked right. So I don't trust it. I don't trust who they pick. It's mad. Indiana's on the line. What are you saying, Indiana?
I'm a bit worried about this one. What worries me, right, is that you can't tell me this is based on one game. The reason why they're talking to Poch right now is a complete PR spin. It's because the fans aren't happy with the window. It's another Woodward diversion tactic, because there's people now who are going to be really happy with the club if Poch comes in. They're going to be like, wow, Poch is a great manager. Things are going to be great now. Forget about the terrible transfer window. And they might back him. They might back him in the first window, but they won't be backing him in the second window. So don't fall for it. Don't fall for this. Ed Woodward's changed his ways. He's finally realised he's got to bring in a manager, because I'm not sure what Poch has actually done.
Well, someone sent me some statistics the other day, and actually earlier today, and I don't know whether I can find it or not now. I did that. Last night, again, the media are doing this whole thing about Ollie. Even though after all these bad things said about Ollie and how bad our squad and team is, they're still saying he's got to win trophies. I just find it amazing. But someone sent me a graphic, and it shows, it's Ollie versus Poch in terms of against top six. So Ollie's played 13, Poch has played 53. Ollie's won 7 of those 13. Poch only won 15. Ollie's drawn 4. Poch has drawn 15. Ollie's lost 2. Poch lost 23. So Ollie's win rate against the top 6 is 53%. Poch's is 28%. Right?
There you go.
So there's loads of things to be negative about Poch, the same as there are things to be very, very positive about. But I don't really care about any of that. There's 2 things on my mind here more than anything else. One, who in their right mind is trusting this board to make the right decision? And secondly, for all the Poch stands, for all the man out there that are like, Poch is the guy. And Saeed, I'm chatting to you, bruv, and I mean this in a positive way. How are you going to react when this board that you're protecting throws Poch under the bus? When they start doing the same thing to him? Like, that's the point I'm making here. It isn't about Ollie, Poch, Pogba, Martial, Rashford, Harry Maguire. All of this is a madness. All of this is covering up what the real problem is. And it's Woodward, Matt Judd, Glazer's board. And until they become the focus and the sole focus, and the media lap it up. I'm actually loving the media right now. The media are like, right, what can we write as an article today? I'll tell you what we'll do. This is what the Ollie in brigade say. This is what the Ollie out brigade say. Let's just write articles that feed into their confirmation bias, and then they sit back and watch it burn. They must be sitting there right now going, look at them fighting over it. It's mad. It's like throwing a sandwich into a room full of starving people. That's how it is. They're like, rah, rah, rah. It's crazy. Don't fall for it. Danny Williams is now with us on the line. Danny, I've seen you've been copied into quite a few of these posts as well. What are you saying?
Oh, yeah, no, I've handled that already. I've got no more. Do you know what's funny? Yeah, I think this guy said you blocked him. I can see why you blocked him, yeah. Do you mind me talking about this and breaking this down? I was going to speak about something else.
Go for it, bro. Go for it.
But since you brought it up, so this guy, so I think it was the United Report or someone's put some quotes out from the Laurie guy from The Athletic. Ollie's not a top coach. There's doubts about it. Cool. Me and Neeks get tagged into it. You see, and you guys are always defending him. And I'm looking at these quotes, and immediately my spidey senses start tingling. I'm like, something's up with these quotes.
Yep.
But my immediate thought is, well, what's this got to do with no tactics and no coaching? Because that's what we don't. We those statements of no tactics and no coaching, is what gets us angry, because they're stupid statements to make. It's Manchester United Football Club. Like, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's the manager, Mike Phelan's the assistant manager, Kieran McKenna, Mike. Don't tell me there's no tactics or no coaching. Tell me what tactics you have a problem with. Tell me why you don't like the style. Let's elevate the level of conversation. And I found it suspicious that the comments about him, the question marks of over Ole being a top coach, the context it was put in was in basically, when we have a bad run of results, we basically just revert to relying on the front three. Yep. So when you actually, and then he's told me, then he's literally lied and said, actually, no, there's no link between that statement and the other statement in two separate quotes. So I've had to go onto The Athletic. They've got a deal, by the way, everybody, £1 a month for the moment. So if you do want some stuff from The Athletic, you can sign up now, £1 a month. I sign up, Terry. I read the quote, Terry, and it's one whole quote. It's one whole quote. No breaks. It's one whole thing. So yes, when the question marks over him being a top coach is the way that things spiral out of control when the team has bad results.
Yep. And
we just rely on the front three, which for me, that links back to the players, but that's got nothing to do with no tactics or no coaching.
Yeah,
absolutely no connection
and on
between
that
those two things whatsoever.
And if you look at the first part of that quote, it's the question whether he's a top coach. That's exactly what, like, unique I have said. There is tactics. Are they good enough to make us Premier League champions? Are they good enough to make us Champions League winners? We've all said we don't know, or we don't think so, or probably not, as general comments.
Sorry, Terry, can I give you one more quote?
Yeah, go for it. Go on.
People, it's always interesting what people omit from stuff like this. So according in this exact same article, by the way, we need to talk about the snitch inside Old Trafford. Oh my God, this person,
mate, it's not a snitch.
It's called Ed Woodward.
Ed Woodward's doing it, bro.
Jesus
100%.
Christ. Anyway, the standard of training sessions is said to be high and engaging. Why was that not included in these retweets? It's things like that. So if the standard of sessions and training sessions is high and engaging, how can you tell me no tactics, no coaching? There's no link. They've jumped on it. They're idiots. But if you guys think it's Woodward, my God, have you read this thing on The Athletic? Have you seen how long it is? This is what you call a super rat. In America, that's what they'd call a super rat. This is the person who takes down a mob boss for the mafia, tells you who did all the murders, what hit, who moved all the drugs, going back 30 years. The amount of information and quotes, there are quotes non-stop throughout this article. If this is Woodward, what? Jesus Christ!
But you know what's funny?
Sorry,
guys. But that article though that you said, there's no comment on there on any of the Man United fan channels that have quoted that article about the training being intense. I didn't even get to that point because my stream was set up before I saw those quotes. I haven't read the article yet.
Terry, it's long.
No, and that's cool, bro. But my point is none of these supposed Man United fan accounts have quoted any of the positive bits.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Nobody will. They'll only draw on the negatives. And like I've said, this for me is interesting. Most Man United fans that want Ole in didn't necessarily want him in for how amazing our football is. It's been about, we thought there was being a cultural rebuild of the football club that was needed before a Poch, Nagelsmann, whoever comes into the football club. But for me, that information that's come out is all part and process to build up this narrative. There will be positives in there, but the narrative will be, Ole was good for us, but he wasn't quite good enough to take us to the next level. This is how Woodward and co. get Man United's attentions away from them and the bad summer to the team playing badly. Yeah. And then what happens is, this is how it'll be done. If we do not do well in the next 5 games, and by the way, in that same article, it does say, well-informed industry sources believe an approach to Mauricio Pochettino is on Man United's agenda if results do not improve. And it's obvious what will happen when you look at the fixture list.
Can I just say, Terry?
Go on, mate. Go on.
On that, right? Like, could anybody here not have predicted that story? Obviously, looking at that fixture list, his job's on the line after a 6-1 defeat. Yeah. That's not rocket. That's them. That's
of course it is, bro.
When the window shut, I knew this story was coming.
Yeah, I get that. I get that, boys.
2 + 2 = 4.
Of course it is. But this is why it's obvious, and this is why people have got to wake up and smell the coffee. If they want to sack Ole now, they won't do it now, because if you bring Poch in now ahead of these 5 games, he could lose all 5, and that kills the feel good factor that they're looking for. It's right. Let's do these next 5 games. If it goes average to bad, the mood's going to drop even more. We then hit the next international break. We announced after the Everton game that Ollie is gone, or we get rid of Ollie after Arsenal, interim manager for 2 games, and then bang, beginning of the 2-week international break, we announce Poch, feel good factor, and then he's opening 3 games, or West Brom, Istanbul, Southampton. We would expect victories out of those games. If he can get 2 or 3 victories out of those matches, suddenly there's no attention on us. It's so obvious what they're doing. And to that article, of course there are elements. Of course there are elements of Ollie that are not going to be good enough, and people have their worries and have their concerns. That's quite natural. That's quite normal. You're telling me there aren't Liverpool players sitting there right now being slightly concerned by how many goals they're conceding?
Do you know what they do to Poch though? Sorry, KJ, very quickly. Just to piggyback off what Terry said, I just want to say something identical, right? So it's going to be like people imagine things will just be beautiful under Poch. When the going gets tough, what do you think they're going to say about Poch? He's never won a trophy before.
Yep.
And you want these players to have that problem as well. We're just going to go around in roundabouts. Sorry, KJ, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say the annoying thing is like if Ollie wins Ollie wins all these 5 games, they're not going to sack him even though they want to, because again the PR element will be how can you sack a manager after winning 5 tough games?
I don't think they want to, KJ.
They do.
I don't think they do. I don't think Woodward anywhere.
No, they don't. They don't want to sack him. They don't actually want to do it. But you said it earlier, KJ. It's all about PR. They look at it from the point of view of what's the fan base saying, what's the narrative, what's the mood now. They have no plan for what they're doing in a year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, barring making money. And because there's no plan, no one can ever be successful. Yeah, it's like I'll give you the example, right? It's like trying to drive from Cornwall to Glasgow with no map, no sat nav, and going there, go vibe it, bruv. That's Man United's football approach in terms of what the board set. They have no idea. They want to win of course, they want to win the Premier League, but it's like, right, go and win the Premier League. What's the plan? Just go and do it, mate. You only have to put some cones down at training, and we'll hire this manager. If Ollie wins, if Ollie does a madness, and we win our next 5 games, by the way, I'll be buzzing. Then they will keep him, and then what will happen is the next issue will arise in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, and we'll be back here again. And this time Poch might be somewhere else. There'll be a new manager. By the way, if we really want Poch, because we think he's going to make us Premier League champions and he's better than Ollie, just sack Ollie.
Yeah, just get it done.
And that isn't about for me right now, right? If you have the best, if Pep leaves City, and in a year's time we had a manager of Ollie's level, and Poch is available, and the board are like, do you know what? We spoke to Poch. He wants to do 4 or 5 years here. We think he can make us champions. Go and get him. You don't have to wait. Like, go and get. Like, let's start with a striker. Who's the best number 9 in the world right now?
Lewandowski.
Okay, let's go younger. Like they've got 10 years in front of them. Who?
Haaland.
If Haaland's available, is it like, well, we can't buy Haaland because we've already got Martial? No, you improve, and you should do the same with managers in the right instance. And by the way, most clubs do that. Most clubs will do it. They really, really will. You know, if they can improve, they'll go and there's a really good. We should have done it ages ago. Pep's available. LVG's doing well though. Don't care. Let's get Poch in. He's better. We know he's better. Like, you need to treat that in that way, but there's no plan. And if Poch, it's mad. Sorry. It's a madness, bruv. I just find it crazy that people can't see that there's no plan, and then they get angry when it fails because there's no plan. It's like, stop focusing on players and managers so much. The board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to go. Before I go, I just want to say this. Everyone who's got smoke for Ollie and the players, I don't mind criticize them, yes, when they play well, and then praise them when they play. Criticize them when they don't play well, and then praise them when they play good in it. But for all the smoke you got for them, save that up and send it to the board, please, because that's where it deserves to go. All smoke, all frustration, all anger, or whatever you got for the players and Ollie, just send it to the board, because these men need to get got, fam. Like, I'm tired of them escaping. They always escape. Sack a manager, new manager come in, buy new players, and then they just hired for 2-3 years, and then boom, process again. I'm sick of it. These men need to get got, fam. So if you got all smoke, send it their way. I'm gone, fam.
Cheers, KJ, top man.
Bless KJ.
I hear that. Listen, and look, we're going to add Ram to the call now as well. Ram's going to come on. Ram, you're a Liverpool fan, so you got no lost towards Manchester United. Do you think this leaked information today, talking to Poch, do you actually think any of this is going to fix Man United and make us achieve the goal that we have, which is become Premier League champions again?
No, because I think your board is incapable of letting you be Premier League champions. Because even if you get like one of the best managers, you had one of the best managers of all time, and he was like, "Yeah, I can't do this anymore," so he left. I don't think you have the capabilities in house to make you Premier League champions,
mate.
And the thing is, you know, it's crazy. If shout out to Flawless in it, yeah, because like Flawless is the only person with the logic. I put it to Flawless like he knows we can't trust the board, so I nicknamed him Kamikaze. He wants to do a kamikaze thing. He's like, yeah, that's our only hope. Our only hope is we bring in a world-class manager. They overachieve. It all goes falling down, and then we do the same thing again. Because with these owners, that's all it is. And I respect that because he knows that the owners are going to undermine any manager doing something for long-term success. It's the ones that really, really think Poch can deliver a title or a Champions League with Woodward and the Glazers as the owners, because and Ollie can't because he's just incompetent. It's nothing to do with them. No. Like we're going to waste Poch. That's why, let me be clear. I don't want Poch now because we're going to waste it. We're going to waste him. His coaching, his tactics, his ideas, we'll waste them. Because we're halfway through the rebuild with Ollie. That's why the rebuild with Ollie has to work. The foundations have to be laid down so we can be the best. I don't want to overachieve. I'm a Man United fan. Why do I want my team to overachieve? What's all that about? I don't want to overachieve.
Danny, you're right.
When we win, I want us to be the best. I don't want us to overachieve. Because when you overachieve, you come crashing back down to earth. And then you have to restart.
And that's the point, bro. So what will happen is we might get lucky really soon. And a manager comes in, spikes it, starts well, and we end up winning a Premier League. That'd be really hard, but we might win a Champions League or something. Something could happen, right? And be like, or domestic double or a Europa League, FA Cup double, and they're like, see. Yeah. For me, it's about peaks. It's about peaks. And we've had some really good peaks in terms of runs of form, some good records, some individual players, some trophies along the way where we've looked like we're progressing. But we've been up and down for 7-8 years because there's no stability, there's no plan, there's no togetherness. And what will happen is the same thing we've seen happen to Chelsea since every other club started to earn really good money. It's up and down. Why? Because there's never really been a plan other than they spend big. And that's what that was what their plan was. We can just spend our way to it. But when all the clubs got the new TV money, when City came in with their money, PSG with them, it was harder. You can now see the Chelsea trying to create something. Now, like I've said all along, I will remain skeptical until I see it come to fruition as to whether or not they stick to their new plan of action. But Chelsea did it all the time. It was like a spike with a new manager. Started getting a bit rough. Rather than sticking with that manager, they'd go away. New spike, dip. New spike, dip. And if you notice, if you look through the linear timeline, the spike to dip happens a lot faster. Lampard's been a bit different. Lampard probably got away with it a little bit because Lampard didn't have the transfer window. But as I said before, and as I said again, time and time again, with no plan of action, with this board, long-term it will fail. And I'm like you, Danny. Great. I'd celebrate a Premier League. I'd celebrate winning the Champions League. But I want sustained success. And I don't mean winning the big trophies every year. I mean, I want us to be, as a general rule, a player in the league every single year. And I don't want us to be even if we have a year where we come third or fourth, I don't want us to be looked at as a dead team. And that is what's going to happen. Even if we win big trophies with a Poch, we're never going to maintain and stay up there because the board won't allow it. And I know they won't. Can
I just add to that? So the Chelsea thing, that all your points are right, but you missed out the key thing, Terry. They started that process from a winning position. Is after Mourinho came, they elevated, they had a plan. Since then, they've been chopping and changing managers. But they had title winners. So they got away with it. But it's become harder and harder once the Drogbas, the Lampards, the Terrys, once that generation went, it's been harder for them to do it. But those dips have still been there. They win a title with Hazard, then they dip the following season. But they started from a winning position. We're 7 years in of horrible recruitment. This is another thing. That the people that want Allegri or Poch miss, right? Whenever those managers have been successful, it's been within a particular structure. But beyond that, they've recruited successfully, consistently well for a 2 to 3 year period. We haven't seen Woodward do that yet. That remains to be seen if Woodward could do that. That's what we want to see under Ollie. So how is Poch even going to overachieve if he can't recruit for 2-3 seasons in a row well? If he doesn't get his number one targets, for 2 to 3 seasons.
And
He'll be sabotaged in 2 years.
And because what we thought they were trying to build,
2
and it
years.
looked like they were trying to build at Man United, was this process where it would never be about a coach coming in or a manager coming in and building something completely in their image. There would be a Man United image, and you would come in to coach it, of course, with your own approach and own style and whatever else to it. But I just don't see us sticking to that. I see we're going to go back to revert to the Woodward type, which is, yeah, Poch, you come in and build it in your own image, which means you start again. And what we haven't done once yet since Fergie is let a manager build something. We get halfway through and go, bored of that. Let's try something else. You know, I've got a mate like that. I've got a very good friend of mine. Every 6 months, he's got a new business he's launching. And I'm like, what happened to the clothing business? What happened to doing some web business? What happened to this? What happened to that? Now he's selling trainers. I'm like, bruv, every month, it feels like you got a new business. And he goes, I just got bored. I'm like, bro, but you're never going to become a success. You have to stick at something long enough to make it a success. Very few things are instant gratification, and you get what you want from it straight away. And it's a madness and it's crazy. But boys, listen, I appreciate you all coming on, having your say today, but we will reiterate this again. I believe Man United are looking at sacking Ollie. The next 5 games are going to be imperative. As a true Man United fan that loves his football club, I don't want to see these games lost. I don't want to see Ollie lose his job. I don't want to see Ollie face any more scrutiny because I love the geezer. I absolutely love him for what he's done for my football club as a player and as a manager. I think he's been imperative in recent times. But the writing's on the wall with this board. They're already talking to Poch. They're leaking out or allowing leaked information to come out to try and undermine large parts of what Ollie does. They're trying to distract us away from their incompetence as a board, the lack of plan. If Poch comes in, great. I'll support it. I want it to happen. I'll get on board the propaganda bus. When we play well, I'll celebrate, I'll cheer, and all that jazz. However, we are on a hamster wheel, owned by the Glazers, run and pushed by Woodward and Judge, and we can't get off of it. And until we realize that we have to break it and we have to stop it and we have to use everything in our power to make it happen. And there is a movement that's starting very, very soon that I'm involved with on this, with KG, the comedian and co. That's all being planned behind the scenes. We've got to come at this board because and by the way, we can't get rid of the whole board, can't get rid of the owners. Maybe not. But what we can definitely do in one way, shape or form, is get something added. You know, a director of football, someone, you know, a conduit between the fans and the board, something to give us more of a say. There has to be a way we can get that done. Listen, until next time. Someone here says, Terry, your emotions are not letting you make a clear decision on Ollie. Bro, it's not about Ollie. Like I've said before, my views on Ollie, I actually agree with a lot of what's been said in the article. I don't know whether or not he's a top coach that can make us win the Premier League. I don't think he is. My view's not on Ollie. I have no emotion. Is Ollie a good enough manager to make us Premier League champions? I don't think so. Does any manager drop 6 goals as a Man United coach deserve to be sacked outside of Sir Alex? Probably. With everything else that's going on. Are there better coaches and managers out there in the world than Ollie? Yes. But none of that's my focus because we've been here before. The focus is the board. This isn't about defending Ollie. It's about defending Manchester United Football Club. That's who I love. Above and beyond everything else associated with that badge. And our board of the incompetent ones. They truly, truly are. Until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Good night, good day, good afternoon, God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.